from Michigan, and please jump in.
Yeah, I thank my colleague for yielding, but I think the issue that we see in front that you've highlighted with the cap and trade bill actually goes and begins much earlier in the new Congress and in the new administration. It was only the second day of the new administration where the president indicated that we are going to close Gitmo, we are going to close Guantanamo, announced a whole series of task forces that were going to evaluate and present a plan as to how this was going to happen. The first thing is you don't set a deadline without a plan. And the president is now finding out that perhaps he got out in front of himself because a couple of the task forces were supposed to report within the last couple of weeks, and they've missed their deadlines. And the reason they've missed their deadlines is as they started looking at closing Guantanamo, an objective that President Bush had before him, it's like, whoa, this is more difficult than what we thought, and we may not be able to do it. So we had an objective without a plan, and I'm not sure what's going to happen here, but we may get to the same point where we get to January of 2010, and we won't be able to accomplish it. Then you go, again, before cap and trade, $787 billion in a stimulus plan that was rushed through the House, rushed through the Senate, made its way to the president's desk, and he signed it. And here we are now, what, 4 months?
And then just reclaim my time for a minute. That was the stimulus we need to talk about. And I'd like to yield to my good friend from Michigan.
I would put forth the premise that maybe we should just set health care aside for a period of time and take a look at this $800 billion that we put on the backs of our kids. I mean, if we have committed to spending $800 billion to stimulate the economy and it's not working, maybe
unemployment's still going up.
Unemployment's still going up. Maybe Congress ought to stay in session, and rather than taking a look at another massive program that we're not sure whether it's going to work or not. I'm not saying health care reform is not important. It's essential. It's vital that we do it. But how you do it's important. How we do it is important. But, let's step back. Maybe Congress ought to stay in session for the month of August, and rather than doing another half-baked idea, just take a look at this stimulus program. Where this $800 billion.
Fix the 4 or 5 half-baked ideas we've already started.
And finish the half-baked ideas that we have started. Again, too often we think here in Washington that if we pass the bill, we have solved the problem. In the business community, if you get the agreement from the board of directors and say, okay, Pete, you've got the approval to move ahead with this new product launch. We're going to invest the tooling dollars to build this product, to do the marketing campaign, and you just kind of walked away from it and say, well, I guess I got that one done. No, what the board of directors would ask you, by the way, we're investing $3, $4, $5 million on this. We want an update every quarter. Matter of fact,
so we pass a stimulus bill. The purpose is to make sure that we don't have unemployment and that we got plenty of jobs. And here we are, whatever it is, 4 or 5 months later, and the board of directors, which is the public, is saying, oh, we're at 9% unemployment, which is a conservative number, and rising. Yeah. And you guys just spent whatever it was, almost $800 billion to make sure this doesn't happen.
You spent $800 billion of our money, the public's money, to deliver a result of 8% employment or less. You're clearly missing the targets. Maybe you ought to go back and reevaluate the $800 billion rather than talking about a second stimulus package, which is going to spend even more money.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing is, committee, we need to pay attention to him, my good friend, Congressman Hoekstra.
I think one of the things that we need to be a little careful about, we keep talking about the bill. And being a member of the Energy and Commerce Committee, you know very well that the bill that you have today may be very different than the bill you will see tomorrow if you mark up, because there's all these negotiations going on behind closed doors, very limited groups, that by the time you start working on this bill tomorrow, it may be a very, very different bill than what you think it is today. So not only is it this bureaucracy, but it is something that is very much in flux, out of the public eye, and what you may have to vote on that bill coming out of committee, which is going to be very probably very, very different than what you're looking at right now by what? By maybe Friday?
And yeah, yielding back to my friend, you know,